showing out, making moves, no doubt. FFA pride, it's what we're all about. From classroom dreams to real world flair, we got the stories you won't find anywhere. Beyond the jacket where the stories unfold, voices of the future, fearless and bold. Tune in now, let the passion ignite. It's more than a jacket, it's a way of life. Beyond the jacket where passion meets purpose.
Welcome back to the Beyond the Jacket podcast, where we uncover the real stories of FFA members who are making an impact far past the blue corduroy. Today, we're heading to Florida's coast to meet Abbygael Whitehead, a fifth-generation agriculturalist and partial owner of her family's seafood business. We're so excited to have her on to talk about from working on the boats to diving into the business aspects. Abbygael, welcome to the podcast. We're so happy to have you.
Hi, I'm super excited to be here.
I am so excited to hear about this too, just reading over it, because I love when we have somebody who isn't like heavily agriculture based, just because I think it adds that little extra zest of people being like, no, listen, like FFA not only teaches you about crops and cows and all that, but also business is such a big aspect, like entrepreneurship and everything. So I'm so stoked to hear about Janalu's Seafood and the fact that you're a partial owner in your family's restaurant.
I'm super excited because a lot of people don't realize that aquaculture is agriculture. So getting to kind of share my perspective and showing that specialty animal, even though it's not like traditional agriculture that you would think of, is still agriculture. And also, like you said, the business aspect of it, there's always so much of that that people don't realize is related to ag too.
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
love that. Abby, tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to our listeners. I mean, I get to know you because of being in the Blue Corduroy with you, but tell our listeners who you are and what your SAE is.
Absolutely. So, like they said, my name is Abbygael Whitehead. Everybody calls me Abby. I'm a fifth generation aquaculturalist from Horseshoe Beach, Florida. My SAE project is 10% ownership of Janalu Seafood, my family seafood business. I'm involved in every part of the business from getting the crabs to managing our license and things like that. I also have a ag comms page called Abby's FFA Journey, where I share different parts of my FFA journey. I share fun jokes about it and just some motivational content for my followers.
So diverse. I love how you kind of dabble at all sides of it and you get to be part of like gathering the seafood as well as the business side. And I remember reading kind of your application to be on the podcast. I know you talked about expanding the business and like you kind of get to be ahead of that. And I think it's so cool, especially women in agriculture today. I mean, obviously, like we're young, but there's so many opportunities. So tell us the story behind Janalu's Seafood and your fifth generation legacy.
Okay, so my great great grandpa moved to Horseshoe when it was Shelton, Florida, and he wasn't like selling seafood, just he was just doing it to make a living basically. So he would catch what he needed to eat, and if he had anything left over, he would sell that. Same thing with my great grandpa. But then you got to my papa himself and all of his siblings. He had five brothers and a sister, and all of them were involved in aquaculture somehow, and that's where the actual business aspect started. So we didn't have a name for a really long time. It was just selling seafood. And then when my mama came around and started running the business, it was Janalu's. Just because everybody knew who she was and they knew our family that they could trust us and that was a reliable product. So moving on from there, I ended up picking it up in sixth grade. It was actually the first day of school in sixth grade. I decided to go ahead and get set up for my SAE project. And then from there, I've just tried to not modernize, but just kind of grow my business, keeping the same traditions that my family has done, but also looking into new opportunities to help it expand, like opening our new location.
That's so cool. So that is kind of one of the things that you have started to try to do on your own with your stake in the company is the potential of opening another location somewhere.
Sort of. So my mama and me had talked about it, and we both love to cook. And so we sat there and we're talking about going and opening a new location. So right now we got a building. We're in the process of renovations, and we are opening up a restaurant that we're going to serve just home Southern cooking, but at the same time also serve the seafood and sell it wholesale, which is great because Horseshoe is a 15-minute drive from Crawl City. And so that'll kind of open it up to be more accessible to customers. And for the few people who just kind of travel through Cross City, since nobody really just stops there, they'll have a chance to say, hey, what's that? Stop in and we get a new customer base.
That's so
That's so
smart too.
cool.
I love because I'm almost 30, so I'm a little bit older than you guys, and I have my own business, and it's so cool to hear just the entrepreneurial ideas and aspects that you're already bringing. Like that's so awesome. I feel like you are going to just soar with Jana Luz. Like
Thank you.
the way that you're already thinking with the possibility of like, oh, we're going to be able to bring in these new customers because there's not anything else right here, or there's a lot of cross traffic through this area. That is insane.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I'm super excited.
And to start in sixth grade, Abby, that's phenomenal. Like, you were so young and already had an interest in, like Lacey was saying, with the entrepreneurial mindset. Now you're going further. And of course, like the good Southern cooking, you can always get new customers with that. And
Hmm.
obviously, like it's a place to fall back to after school, and you could always incorporate new ideas. And I think what even takes it a notch above for you is like your great grandfather, you said he sold his seafood like when he had extra. Like he was just trying to fill his family's kitchen and make sure his family was fed, and now it's turned into a multi-generational business with new storefronts. And I think that's the power of Beyond the Jacket and the things and the opportunities within agriculture and within FFA that allows you to go forward. So what does it mean to carry on your family's tradition?
It means more than I could possibly explain in words because, I mean, like you said, my great great grandpa, he kind of was just trying to make a living. So was my great grandpa. They're just trying to make ends meet because Dixie County is one of the poorest counties in the state of Florida. And so, with that kind of growing and seeing how we've made a life for ourselves and in an industry that Florida knows so little about but depends on so much. I mean, we bring in hundreds of millions every single year with different aquaculturalists all throughout the state. A town really close to me, Cedar Key, is the clam capital of the world. And so being a chance to be involved in something that is so important to Florida, but also something that my family has turned into a livelihood is incredible. And it means so much to just have that connection because was never able to meet my great grandpa. And obviously, I didn't meet my great great grandpa, but just knowing that I have that connection to them because that's something that I've been able to carry on. And it even gives you community ties because, like in our new restaurant, what we're going to do is we're going to have a merchandise table for local businesses and they can put in little products or people like one of my friends, Hannah, makes shirts. She can put her shirts in there. Or one of our friends that we know makes soap and so she can put her goat soap in there and things like that. It's just great. It really provides a lot of community and just connection to my family.
That is really freaking cool. I like the community aspect too, because I think that is huge for promoting other businesses with a business. Can you kind of go in depth a little bit about like what your day to day, like, especially if they're seasonal too, obviously, but like what are some of the responsibilities that you have with Jana Luz?
Well, like I said, I'm kind of involved in all of it, and so the season is technically from January to November, so it's only 1 month out. But one thing a lot of people don't know is that crabs are very sensitive to temperature. I actually was a National Agri-Science Fair finalist for my project on how temperature affects the rate that soft-shell crabs shed their shells, and I'm going to nationals this year for my salinity project.
That's
So with
awesome.
Just
that,
casually drop
thank
that
you.
flex.
No,
No,
I
I
don't
know
mean it
that's
like that, I
dope. I know, no,
promise.
no, no, no. I just mean like that is insanely impressive. I love how you so casually
Thank
said it
you.
too. Just like, yeah, no big deal, but like I know my stuff.
Well, I've been very blessed. It's all in God's glory. I mean, I was able to go to nationals every year that I've been at the high school and with projects on my family seafood business for most of them and kind of looking at all of those aspects. Temperature, when you're looking at it, there's a sweet spot range of 75 to 80 degrees. And within that range, the crabs can 1 degree Fahrenheit is the difference in 3 minutes of shed time. And when crabs are shedding their shells, they're adding 33% of their original body size in growth. So it's kind of like when you get stuck in an old t-shirt that you had to make fit and then you can't get out of it. It's kind of painful. And if it goes below 70, they'll freeze to death. If it goes above 80, they'll boil alive. So it's just, you have to be very particular. So normally our season kind of hits its height between April and June, and it'll carry out throughout the rest of the year. And it starts to slow down when it gets colder around September. So we normally bring in anywhere from like 7,000 to 12,000 crabs each year. And when you're doing that, you're constantly having to monitor them 24 hours a day. We check hourly because crabs are cannibalistic. And when they shed out their shells, a lot of the other crabs will try to eat them. So we do have to be very careful about moving them around. We have shedder vats where we actually shed them out, and then once they are soft, we'll either put them into a separate area to wait and be wrapped, or we'll go ahead and wrap them, put them in the fridge, which puts them in a dormant sleep, and then they pass away painlessly. So a lot of people think that that is like unethical, but in reality, it's the best way that can go. And shedding out the crabs fast is a super beneficial because when you're thinking about it, you're shedding out 10,000 a year. That's going to be a whole lot of crabs. And the difference in 3 minutes is insane. That adds up. Plus, when it's less painful for them, that improves their quality of life, what they have left. Other than kind of monitoring the sciences behind it and monitoring the vats, I'll go out on the boat. I help put out crab traps, bring them in, sort out our bycatch on the culling table, which is anything we catch that isn't the crabs, throw those out. And then when we get back in, I obviously have to do things like just cleaning the crab shed, making sure we're disinfecting everything since we are working with seafood and we don't want any cross contamination. And then bagging seafood, weighing seafood, dealing with our customers. One of my biggest things is customer service.
My gosh, that's a lot to balance. But it's so cool because I mean, I live in Florida just like you, but I had know nothing about aquaculture, and I love that your essay is so diverse and all the different aspects. What other types of seafood do you guys harvest? Or is that even the right term, Abby?
Harvesting is the right terms
Okay.
because that's the thing is a lot of times people don't consider it production because we're not actually like raising the crabs, but you can't farm raise crabs, at least in the state of Florida. And so when you're sitting there, you are harvesting them and you're processing them. So it is considered production. And we harvest a lot of different products. Normally we'll buy from different friends that we know for like shrimp and grouper, mullet, flounder. We also sell scallops and we even make our own sausage because I don't know if y'all know, but a lot of bulls need sausage and that was a whole new market for us.
Oh.
That is so
That's cool.
interesting.
So many different things. So how do you balance the business? Because obviously there's so many different responsibilities that you play a role in. And when school starts back up, you're going into your senior year, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're almost out of school, but how are you balancing doing the business, your SAE, obviously different competitions you're a part of?
Well, the good thing is that, like I said, this is a family business, so we always have some sort of involvement there. If I'm not able to be in the crab shed for something because, hey, I have an FFA event or, hey, I have something going on at school, one of my brothers can step in or my papa can step in. If there's a day at the restaurant where I'm like, hey, mama, I'm not going to be able to come in until later today because I have to go to this meeting, she can say, okay, that's fine. We'll get somebody to cover your shift until then. So it's really just working together and communicating. And it goes both ways. If somebody else is missing something, I can kind of step into that position and cover for them. And I feel like that's one of the amazing things about a family business is just being able to have that dependability no matter what, especially in this business where, like I said, it's a 24-hour process.
Yeah, good Lord, you were talking about everything, and I was like, how does this kid sleep at this
I know.
point? You know? Because there is just so much, and it is so impressive because, and I just feel like that's all FFA kids I talk to. You'll be like, oh, and when do you actually do anything that isn't this? And they're like, oh, what do you mean?
I don't.
I don't. But it's also so incredibly impressive because you are setting yourself up for life. And not only you, but probably your kids if you choose to have them and whoever ends up coming after you. Because I mean, it's been going for 5 generations. I don't think it's stopping anytime soon.
Absolutely. I plan to make it 6.
Exactly. There you go.
I always said that, like, because, like, I was more of, like, the cattle kid, that I wanted, like, my great grandchildren to still
Mhm.
be able to work on the ranch and be a part of that legacy, and I can only pray for that for you. You mentioned it a little bit at the beginning, Abby, that you work with managing, like, your licenses, and, like, obviously there's a lot of, like, regulatory things that you have to do in the seafood industry. Can you talk a little bit about how you have your foot in that door?
So, one of the things is that a lot of our licensing and renewal has moved to on computers, and that is not my papa's strong suit. And so I try to help out with that where I can because most of your licenses are renewed annually. You know, you have your saltwater product license, your restricted species for the crabs because you can only catch so many. That's specifically with stone crabs. And so I try to help to renew those every year throughout the computer. It's a pretty simple process. We also have to make sure that we are keeping up with how many traps we're allowed to have. And we have to make sure that we're not bringing in crabs that are too small because on your traps, you have to make sure that you have a hole that is 2 to 3.5 inches where a little crab can get out. You also have a thing on your boat where you can measure out the sizes and make sure that those crabs are at least 3 inches from point to point on their shell. Because if not, then you're harvesting them way too small and that could affect the overall population. You also have different things like making sure you're not catching a crab with a sponge. A crab sponge literally looks like a kitchen sponge and it's on the stomach flaps of the crabs, which is actually where you can tell the gender. And on there, those sponges can hold up to 3,000 baby crabs. So we're not allowed to keep those at all. We have to make sure that we throw them back if we catch any, because messing that up could really destroy the entire ecosystem.
That's so much to think about at one
Exactly.
time.
Yeah. Well, I knew
Oh
as
my
soon as she
gosh.
started talking about the fact that she was in seafood and actually harvesting, I was like, I know there's got to be so many insane, like just logistics that go through your brain when you're trying to think of
There's
everything.
there's definitely a lot because I mean I understand why because there is a lot of different restrictions put on us just to help maintain that ecosystem, especially like after storms, during hurricanes, septic systems will flood and go into your water. You're not allowed to go out on the water for 2 months after that because of cross-contamination risk, since crabs will bring in particles from the water to eat. But that's another thing too is I love being able to be a part of helping with policies. I was on the Healthy Farms, Healthy Bays initiative with Solutions of the Land and the University of Florida, where we actually talked about the needs of aquaculturalists within the Big Bend area to help preserve the Swanee River Basin and to help us get more support because there are no grants for after hurricanes to help us restore our products. And we are losing thousands to ten thousands of dollars, especially clam farmers who actually have to plant the seeds and then that freshwater influx kills all of their clams. That is very costly. So I was able to be on that. We wrote a $250 million grant for more hurricane support for aquaculturalists and for best management practices for farmers. It got sent to the state, was approved, and it's now in DC. We also, I was a part of a congressional roundtable with Miss Kat Kamick, and I served as an aquatic representative for the Big Bend area.
That is awesome.
That's phenomenal. Like, I don't even like. I'm just so impressed by you, Abby. I mean, I've been friends with you for
Thank
a
you.
while, but I couldn't even fathom all the different roles you play within your family's industry, and to be able to work in legislation like that and be a voice for the future of agriculture, the future for your specific industry and your family is so powerful. And maybe who knows in the future you can run your family's business and additionally work in legislation to continue to be a voice for other families like your own. Um, and I think FFA obviously has given you a voice to do so. You speak
Absolutely.
so well and you're
Thank
so
you.
involved and all the things that you get to do. And I love your SAE, but I want to talk a little bit about like kind of your social media account.
Yes.
And because that's how so many people know you, Abby.
Yes.
Abby's FFA journey, I know my mom knows you as Abby's FFA journey. Like that is Abby because Abby's so
Uh-huh.
passionate about her blue jacket. So tell us a little bit how that got started.
So I think it's funny that you said that about your mama knowing me as Abby's FFA journey because anytime I meet followers at different FFA events, whether it's nationals, Moultrie in Georgia, or whether it's a state convention contest, they all say, "Oh my gosh, you're Abby's FFA journey," right? It's never, "Oh my gosh, you're Abby." And so that's kind of a title that I wear with pride. I actually made a video about that. And that's my title that I earned. So back in eighth grade was the first time I ever competed at state convention. I'd been on stage my seventh grade year at my first state convention for Courtesy Corp. But my eighth grade year, I really got the ball rolling. I won middle school extemporaneous public speaking. I won star discovery degree. I won alumni essay. Yes, alumni essay. And then I was on Courtesy Corp again. So I made an account. I was like, nobody really wants to see it on my personal account. So maybe if I made like an FFA account, I could just kind of make a digital scrapbook. I was not expecting it to do anything, and that was just for my own personal kind of thing. Well, a little while later, I started the TikTok, and it was very, very slow at first. I just kind of like would post whatever I felt like, and it would get maybe 200 views. And then one day I posted a video about skipping school as an FFA member, and it was that we don't even have to try. So after I posted it, after 2 hours, I had 24 views, and it was terrible. I was like, that's bad even for me. And so I was like, I'm going to delete it. I absolutely hate this video. And mom was like, no, I like that one. You have to keep it up. I was like, come on, this looks dumb. And she's like, no, just leave it up. I like that video. I was like, fine. Well, we go eat that night and we actually had to get groceries. I come back to the car and my phone says 99 plus. I'm like, why is my phone blowing up? I go on there and my TikTok, I kept refreshing it. And as soon as I would refresh it, 99 plus, 99 plus, 99 plus, I'm like, what's going on? And it ended up getting to 70,000 views that night or somewhere around there. And then my friend Wesley Howell, he sat there and he
We
was
love
like,
Wesley.
Abby, we do. I love Wes. So he sat there and he was like, I told you your page was going to do good. I'm like, okay, okay. And he goes, this is the time to start your podcast. I was like, no way, you were insane. And he goes, come on, you need to do it. So I was like, fine. If this video gets to 100,000 views, I'll try to start a podcast. And he goes, okay, bet. Next morning, I woke up, it had 117. So that video today is at 2.6 million. It's my most successful video on the page. And that just kind of kickstarted everything. Once my pages started getting some more traction, I tried to post more educational and motivational content. My Instagram is the page that has more of the serious stuff just because I found out that does better on Instagram. And then on my TikTok, I still have educational content, but from a different angle. Because what I found out is if you can make it entertaining, but also educational, they don't even realize that they're gaining this new knowledge, but they are at the same time and they're more likely to consume it. Then that's what my analytics have shown me is the proof's in the pudding. And so sitting there with that, I try to post about misconceptions, even if it's a funny video, like one I posted right there about people not knowing aquaculture is agriculture. I try to post a lot about mental health because that was a struggle I went through a lot just with some past experience I went through being abused and things like that. And then I also try to just post motivational things, get you through your week because one video can change somebody's life. And I can't tell you how many people have reached out to me saying, thank you so much for this and telling me that they're huge accomplishments. So the main point of my pages is just to try to give some people some insight into FFA and the agriculture industry so they can learn more about it, but also to support other FFA members because, and it benefits me too, because the thing is, like, I had a follower reach out and I was distraught in ninth grade because I had got second in employment skills. I was so disappointed in myself. I had broke down crying, not because I like lost, but just because I felt like I let everybody down. And that was my problem. So people would think I was a bad sport, but I'm like, no, it's not about the contest. It's about letting everybody down. And then one day I got a message from one of my followers and it said, I just wanted to say thank you so much. I watched your videos to help review for Creed and I just got second to districts. I'm so proud of myself. And that completely switched my perspective because I'm like, I'm sitting here getting upset for second at state. Meanwhile, I just made somebody's entire day because they were able to get second at districts. And that truly showed me that I could be more happy and more proud of myself and that maybe it wasn't the best I've ever done, but that was my best that day. And if I put forth the effort, that was something to be proud of.
I love that. I like hearing you talk about the agriculture thing because I resonate with that heavily with like what actually gets people to learn and actually be able to show those misconceptions. Because I think a lot of times if you look at my social media and just like as like bare bones, people be like, oh, she's just doing stupid stuff. She sits on her cow. She's not doing. But when you actually watch, I'm trying to create a space where it's entertaining and there's these fun, cute animals, but people are also retaining something because that's how they do
Absolutely.
it. If I sat down every video and just sat here and was like, hey, so we're going to talk about misconceptions in agriculture, people are going to scroll away. So it's trying to find that mix of engaging and entertaining, but also educational, because that's what people are going to take away. I don't need everybody to know the difference between estrus cycles and cattle. But having so many people understand that it's necessary to wean calves, that's huge for the misconceptions of the agriculture industry. So I love that you also took to that social media side because I am an FFA kid through and through. I am an ag woman. I don't know anything about aqua agriculture. So I'm getting to learn here right now sitting with you. So I think that is huge. And you definitely have a market on social media and there's definitely a space for you because we need to hear more about the aqua. I want to know more already. I'm like, hey,
I am very proud. Yes. No, I am very proud of that because the thing is, I know I'm a fifth generation aquaculturalist, but I was the first one in my family to be an FFA just because my family had always worked and they'd never had time for it. And so being able to balance that and then also getting my degrees and stuff, it's become some of my biggest accomplishments. It's like getting my AA as a first gen college graduate, my SAU projects, and FFA. Like that's my biggest accomplishments. And kind of looking at the educational stuff again, kind of like what you were saying, nobody wants to just hear you man, na 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 all the way along. But if I post a video from a popular trending sound from the Tinder musical, and it's like making fun of like, what do you mean? And it's really talking about, hey, what's your CD project? Oh, I'm in aquaculture. I thought it had to be related to agriculture. And I'm like, yes, it is. That video gets a lot more attention than me saying aquaculture is agriculture because A, B, C, D. And those little videos might be the only interaction someone gets with the agriculture industry.
Absolutely. Yep. You are 100%
When
correct.
when I started my AgCom SAE, everybody was like, no one's going to listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
And once you learn that people only have an attention span for 30 seconds, you
Mm-hmm.
can do a lot more. And I like how yours, Abby, is kind of a blend of it all. It's motivational, it's funny, it's educational, and it's absolutely Abby through and through. It has such a light, and they're so fun and so entertaining. What else do you do in the FFA, Abby? We talked about Abby's FFA journey and the seafood business. What competitions or offices? Just tell us about your time in the Blue Jacket.
Oh, Lord. Okay. So, the first contest I ever did was OCC in middle school. I was serving as the chapter president. And then, like I said, I went into eighth grade, and what really got the ball rolling was winning the contest that I had mentioned before. Going into ninth grade that year, I did livestock judging, I did land judging, I did um, Creed, I did ag education, and there were a few others that I just can't remember. OH demos. I was actually two-time state champion for OH demos, and I got fifth this year, so I'm
Congratulations.
very proud of that. Thank you. Today, what it looks like is I do land judging, horse judging, livestock judging, vegetable judging, OH demos, extemp speaking, agri-science fair, proficiencies, star. I do alumni essay normally, just depending on the year. Um, I don't remember if I said it already, ag education. And that's kind of my thing. I'm currently serve as the vice president for my chapter. I also serve as the subdistrict 3 chair. I've been a subdistrict officer for the past 2 years. I unfortunately didn't get district office this year, but I'm hoping to screen for state office.
Exciting times. I know this senior year pile up of all the things and wanting to soak it all in for your last year. So I wish you luck with running for
Thank
state
you.
office and in all your competitions. Just don't get burnt out and soak it all in. I know, like for me, my senior year, I was like, I gotta get it all. I gotta get it all because it's
That
running out.
was that was me last year. So last year was a crazy year for me because I had the most classes I had ever had because I was trying to go ahead and graduate with my AA because like I said, I'm a first generation college graduate and so I had to make sure that it got paid for in high school, especially if I wanted to take a break here for state office. And so I was trying to get prepared for that. I was in 14 different clubs. I was involved with a bunch of different initiatives. Like I was driving myself insane. And eventually I had to take a step back and I'm like, this is not good for my health. This is not good for my relationship with the Lord because I'm so distracted. And I had to kind of make my priorities. And that doesn't mean that I don't love the things I was involved in. It just means that I had to do what was going to be best for my overall mental health.
Absolutely. No, I think that's a common theme in our episodes, right, Lacey?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You have to be able to say no and be okay with saying no. And it can be very difficult, okay? As a recovering people pleaser, I get it. But
Hmm.
there is a
A
part where
recovering people pleaser. People, we need to put that on a shirt. That's a
I'm
good
in the
thing.
same boat. I would buy that shirt.
yeah, it is hard. I have been there, and especially as with what all I end up doing, sometimes there's moments where I'm like, okay, I've got to say no to some stuff because I cannot possibly do all this right now. And it's hard because you don't want to feel like you're missing out. You don't want to feel like you're behind. But I think the biggest takeaway that somebody who's a decade older can give you is you are already so incredible and so impressive. And I hope you're not hard on yourself when it might be a second place or it might not be an office this year. Because let me tell you, it's probably because with your timing, there's other things you need to be focused on more right now.
Yes.
That's what I tried to kind of tell myself is this year I switched from praying for what I want and praying for God's will to be done because he knows the perfect plan for my life. And the thing is, seeing the growth because in ninth grade, like I said, I broke down in tears when I lost employment skills and got second. But this year for extemp, I was able to just say, congrats, Cooper. I am so excited for you. Went on about my life. I was bummed out, but hey, I'm still going to nationals for two other things.
hmm
And that just being able to kind of trust in his plan and saying, Yes, it sucks, but oh well, that means he has different plans for my life. And I feel like starting to have that new perspective has helped me so much.
Yes.
Absolutely. I can tell you, like, for me, obviously, like, the one thing I wanted a yes to didn't happen, right?
Yes.
For when running for state office. But I can tell you that's the best thing that's ever happened to me, Abby. Like, I'm in school. I love it. I've made some of my best friends. And, like, I feel so much better. My mental health is better. And
Absolutely.
I think for you going forward, like trusting in God's plan, having that beautiful mindset at such a young age is so important because I know some adults that can't even put that into perspective for themselves. And I think moving forward, that's important. Um, where can we find you on social media? Where can we find Janaloo Seafood? How can we promote you further in your journey in the Blue Jacket?
So, like I said, my biggest pages are my Abby's FFA journey. That's on TikTok, Instagram, and I'm thinking about starting a Facebook. I'm having some technical difficulties with that, but we'll see. I also am trying to get my podcast back up and running. It's called Blue Jackets Gold Standards by Abbygael Whitehead. I had to put the by Abbygael Whitehead because there was one that already had that name and I did not know, but it was an older one that doesn't post anymore. So I was like, I don't think I'm stealing their name. So had that up. As far as Jada Lou Seafood, we have a Facebook right now, and we're currently trying to start an Instagram. My biggest thing is hashtags. Like I do the hashtag Abby's FFA journey, because that way when people search it up, they can kind of see all of my FFA journey, even if they haven't seen my page. Same thing with Jana Lou Seafood. We try to use those hashtags to promote your following because hashtags can be a game changer.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. We loved having you today, Abby, and we are so excited that our listeners get to see your journey beyond the Blue Jacket. Um, you're providing a legacy that can shape the future of agriculture and specifically aquaculture because it is agriculture and so many people can be educated through your voice. And we are so excited that we got to have you today to share your story. So thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity.